Hey guys, it's really kind of late and I'm trying to do this semi-quietly because I think everyone else in my house is sleeping, but I'm doing it anyway, and so I'm going to read this book that I wrote when I was in 7th grade, I think. And we were assigned, we had to write a children's book, and we had to also do illustrations, so I'll also show those even though they're terrible. The book is Iggy's Question by Liam Moore. Once there was a monster named Iggy. He always treated others how they treated him. This meant that if a kid was rude, he would scare them, and if a kid was nice, he would try to be their friend. He had a lot of friends in his hometown, but he decided it was time for a change. He started out on his journey to find a new home. Picture of Iggy. He had been traveling all day when he stumbled along a town named Sunnytown. He had been to many towns that didn't suit him, and he didn't think this one would be any different. Despite his thoughts, all he had to do was look at the welcoming sign, and he knew that this town was the right place for him. This sign for Sunnytown. He walked down the hill into town. As soon as he arrived in the main square, someone said to him, "Hello, welcome to Sunnytown, where all creatures can live together peacefully." Iggy was thrilled to hear this and skipped off happily. There we go. He found a nice home and settled in quickly. Then he went outside to meet some new friends. First he met a nice little boy named Eric who said hello, but as soon as Iggy opened his mouth to introduce himself, the little boy ran away. He thought that this was a little weird, but guessed that maybe the boy had something to do. Next, a mean kid walked by and stuck out his tongue. As soon as Iggy opened his mouth to scare him, he fainted. Wow, he thought, I must be really scary. As the day continued, everyone he tried to say anything to either ran away or fainted. He concluded that there must be some sort of problem. Smart Iggy, right? Okay. He went home to bed and began to think of possible solutions to his problem. Then he suddenly thought of something very obvious. Just ask someone what is wrong with him. The next day he began asking around Sunnytown, but no one would talk to him. He decided that it was time to go out of town to look for an answer, so he packed up his things and set out. He's having an epiphany. He traveled to many different towns. He asked his monster friends and enemies, but none of them had anything helpful to say. In fact, they all asked him to tell them if he found an answer, because they had the same problem. Now everyone was counting on him. There you can see all of his monster friends. He visited town after town without any results. Everywhere he went, he had the same problem. No one would speak to him, much less answer his questions. He even got so desperate once that he went into a forest. First, he talked to a skunk that said people ran away from him when he tried to talk to them too. Next, he talked to some of the other animals who were just as puzzled by it as he was. Lovely animals. He left the forest and continued searching in towns for solutions. He walked for a while and found a town named Shiny Teethville. He wondered why anyone would want to name their town that, and why someone would desire shiny teeth. He was so puzzled by it that he went into town to ask. Shiny Teethville sign. "Hi, my name is Iggy," Iggy said to the first person he met. "Why do you want to have shiny teeth?" As soon as he said this, the man whisked him away to find a girl named Casey, a dentist's daughter, he was told. "What is a dentist?" Iggy spoke his thoughts out loud. The small crowd that had gathered around him stared gaping. Finally, a man found his voice and said that it was a person who cleaned and helped you take care of your teeth and mouth. Iggy thought about this and was confused. Then he asked the man, "Why would you want to take care of your teeth?" Casey had entered the crowd at this point and took Iggy to a place where they could talk. People gaping. Casey explained to Iggy that your teeth are a part of your body and you should clean and take care of them. He thought this over and decided that it made some sense, so he asked her why no one in the other towns would talk to him. She told him it was because his breath did not smell very good. She gave him a toothbrush and a tube of toothpaste. She also gave him a free trip to her father's dentist office. The dentist cleaned his teeth. Then he gave Iggy a kazoo as a prize. The dentist told him to brush 2 to 3 times a day and taught him how to do so. Before Iggy left the dentist's office, he asked for some more toothbrushes and tubes of toothpaste for his monster friends. He got 2 huge boxes and went to get his things together to leave the next day. That afternoon, Iggy left Shiny Teethville. He promised his new friends that he would come back to visit. He also said that he would brush every day. Iggy did not return to Sunnytown straight away. Before he did, he stopped by to teach his monster friends how to brush. He handed out almost all the teeth cleaning tools, then showed the other monsters how to use them. After his lesson to the monsters, he was greatly appreciated and considered somewhat of a hero by them. He made many friends everywhere he went and always had a spare toothbrush with him just in case. Iggy even became a dentist back in Sunnytown. He lived very happily there for the rest of his life. The end. It's pretty embarrassing to me that I wrote that when I was in 7th grade. I feel like it probably should have been better than that. Okay, I ended up writing another children's story. I get these assignments to write children's stories, and I don't know why. But I had to write this in freshman year, and let me tell you, it's a good one. We will begin. The Life of Achu the Tree. There was once a tree that grew and grew. His name was Achu. There you go. All around him were his friends and his family too, and the sky was always so blue. Then the rumbling machine came through, but it missed Achu. Look. A house was built by his side. He had new little friends in which to confide, but he couldn't forget his old friends as much as he tried. Oh. But the children would hug Achu and hide. Ready or not, here I come. Then the rumbling machine caused the house to slide, and Achu wanted to go along for the ride. Suicidal tree. Good plan, Leah. Anyway. There were no longer any friends to make Achu glad, and this made Achu terribly sad. It's by a little plant thing. And the air around Achu was really bad, which made him feel like he was going mad. Then the smoke stopped filling the air like it had, and the rumbling machine came again, but it wasn't bad. People came through with something to do, and Achu knew what they were up to. Then around his limbs the little birds flew, and he watched as the children threw. Achu watched as the new trees grew, and his greatest wish had come true. The end. Yeah, I probably could have done better, but okay, it just sucked. I'm sorry. I'm not a very good writer. And I don't think children's stories are really my thing, even though I've been assigned to do them a couple times, but yeah. I feel kind of bad because the only thing I'm reading are children's stories, and yeah. But the thing is, the only things that I have really finished are things that are for school, and Penelope asked for something that is perhaps finished, and so those are things that I was assigned to do for school, and so they are finished. And the only other things I finish are like essays, papers, short stories for school, and poems. Okay, I will read one short story, and it really sucks, so don't get too excited. Okay, so this assignment was to write like a naturalist, and so first I'm going to, well actually, I'll explain how I wrote like a naturalist, because I wrote like a paragraph explaining how I wrote like a naturalist, but I did it at the beginning, but I'll read that at the end so that I won't ruin it all before I even start telling it. It's called The Trip. They woke up one by one. Chad awoke and found that he was staring at foliage. Before his hazy mind could even begin to wonder where he was and how he had gotten there, Katrina began to stir beside him. Katrina sat up, looked at Chad, glanced at the still sleeping Iris, and stared at the trees surrounding her on all sides. Finally she rallied and asked where they were and how they got there. Just as Chad was about to answer, Iris finally woke up. Before she could even begin to scan her surroundings, Chad said that he didn't know where they were or how they had come to be there, so she shouldn't bother asking. As an afterthought, he added that they must have taken some pretty whacked out stuff the night before and wandered into the woods. Indeed, this was a fair assumption to make. If a person finds himself in the wilderness with no recollection as to how he came to be there, then possibilities are quite limited. First, the person could have been the victim of a kidnapping crime. Second, the person could have been involved in some sort of strange alien abduction. Third, the person could have entered the forest and then obtained an injury of some type. Or finally, the person could have taken an odd combination of drugs and alcohol on the previous night. Because the trio in this story was known for their extreme partying and willingness to try anything, and because they had attended a party located near a forest the night before, it must be assumed that the last option is correct. The three had taken part in exceptional debauchery the previous night and had somehow made their way into the middle of a forest. The trio slowly rose to their feet. Katrina was an attractive, athletic, and outgoing girl. Chad was a tall, skinny, and timid boy. Iris was a small, delicate-boned, and quiet girl. None of them had any experience in the woods, and none of them knew how to get back to the site of last night's party. They had a choice. They could walk uphill or downhill. Chad was in favor of walking downhill because that would be less strenuous, but Katrina insisted upon making their way uphill on the grounds that they would have gone downhill the night before on account of their drug-induced stupor and general laziness. Chad gave in, and they began their upward climb. They had been walking for 3 days with little food or water when it began to rain. The three eagerly tilted their faces upward to catch the raindrops in their mouths as they trudged onward. They had been walking in this manner for some time when Chad and Iris heard a crack followed by a scream. They turned to find that Katrina had stepped into a hole and broken her leg. They tried splinting the leg, but Katrina still couldn't put any weight on it. Chad and Iris stayed with Katrina for the remainder of that day and throughout the night. The next morning, Iris pulled Chad aside. Iris suggested that they leave Katrina, but Chad argued that they should make a stretcher and bring her with them. Iris replied that they didn't know how to make a stretcher, and even if they managed, they wouldn't be able to carry Katrina for long. Chad agreed to leave her, and the pair snuck away. Iris and Chad walked for 2 more days. They were both very hungry. Iris began regretting leaving Katrina to the forest creatures. It was such a waste. She fashioned herself a weapon and went looking for Chad. Soon she would be alone, but she would be very satisfied. Okay, now my explanation. In this piece, I am attempting to imitate the style and interests of naturalists. The emphasis in this piece is on the extreme setting, Darwinism, characters who confront extreme crisis and are destroyed by them, humans doomed by their shortcomings, animalistic in nature, the struggle to survive materially, and instincts and base impulses. The tone I use is meant to present an objective view of human nature, and I tried to copy Dreiser's tone for parts of this piece, especially paragraph 2, which was the part about the making assumptions and the different options. Anyways, so yeah, that is some of my writing, and that is why I will never be an author. So anyway, I sincerely look forward to hearing your writing, and I guess I should get to editing this now since it is almost 2 in the morning. And yeah. My recommendation for today is to start filming your video earlier than 1 o'clock. JT, I will see you today, tomorrow, whatever. Bye.